Sensory overload is a real thing. It's a real thing. It's not something that's exaggerated. It's not something that's made up. It's a very real thing. I went to a church service today. First and foremost, I have ADHD and neurodivergent. And I'm on autism spectrum apparently, but whatever. So I didn't know how overstimulated I get. I get very overstimulated. And it's not like I get overstimulated and I have panic attacks or something like that. I can't focus because I'm so busy trying to regain my focus because I'm overstimulated. And I'm sitting at the service, and it was a good service. I just couldn't get into the service because there was so much going on. Oh my goodness, it was so much going on. The lights, it was singing, it was people, and that's to be expected at a church. You know, the court, the choir, and all of this other stuff. But then they had these TVs in the background, and the TVs had just different images going across the screen, like waves of lights, and then flashing lights, and then they were all these different colors, and then you had the lights in the ceilings, and they were the motion lights that were like disco lights, and then you had the clapping, and then the music, and the music changed, and it was so much going on. I was like, wait a minute, ooh, what's happening? Which I really hate that happened, but I was like, maybe because it is first Sunday, and I did go on first Sunday, so maybe this just is how it is on first Sunday. I haven't been to church in a while, so maybe I got to get reacclimated. But then I was like, I don't remember all these theatrics being in church, but maybe that's how church is now. And since I haven't been in a while, maybe I just need to reacclimate myself to church how it is now. But the whole time I'm sitting there, they set me up to the front. And I was like, maybe if I move further to the back, because then they had the air blasting, the air was on. I was sitting right up under a vent, so I was cold. The lights are flashing. There are people singing on the stage, and then they're singing these different songs. And I knew some of the songs, but then some of the songs I didn't sing. And I was like, well, why don't they have the words on the screen? Because they have like 3 big screens in the front of the church where the people are standing in front of the church, but 2 of the other screens that the words are usually on at other churches, they didn't have the words to the songs on those 2 additional screens. They just had a repeat of the same image that was on this big screen that they were all standing in front of. So I was like, why do you have this big screen that has the images and the colors and things playing in the background, which would be a good backdrop if you didn't have it on these other 2 screens. Those other 2 screens can be where the words are. So I was like, well, where's the screens that shows the pastor when he's speaking to the people on the internet? And I look over to the left and to the right, and then they have these 2 smaller televisions that have pictures or projections of the stage, it was so much going on. So I was like, what's happening right now? But then that's when I realized I'm overstimulated. And it's a real thing. I couldn't really even get into the service the way I wanted to, the way I expected to, because of the simple fact there was so much going on. There was so much going on. And I don't know if that's a new church thing or not, because it's not the first time that I've been to a church that have had the lights and things like that going on in the background. It's just, these were bigger churches. This is kind of like a medium-sized church. So the churches that I have gone to that have these lights and things, it was balanced. It wasn't so confined. And then the walls of the church, they had like these dark walls, so the lights were really bouncing off of the walls. It was these neon lights. There was a drone. They had a drone flying in there. Then in the front, they had the praise teams, the liturgical dancers, and they were dancing. I was looking at one girl because I guess it was the young girls and the young liturgical dance group. They had these gold outfits. They were doing the dance. They was right in front of where I was. I was the third row back at the very edge of the seat. But then they had there was two younger girls that were on the stage on the pulpit, and they were waving the flags, and I was like, oh, look at them waving the flags. But the songs went on so long. Praise and worship was an hour. It was an hour. And these kids danced the whole entire time. But two of them that were on the stage in the pulpit, they had the flag. So they had to use both hands, one flag in one hand, the other flag in the other hand. And I'm looking at this little girl, her glasses are tilting off her face. They're steaming up because she's so hot. Then you could just tell her arms are getting tired because her flag stopped waving this high. And I was like, somebody please go help this baby. Like, so then it was first Sunday. So, first Sunday is communion. So I was like, oh gosh, I don't think I want to take communion. Okay, well, how did they do communion? They knew their program, okay? And churches today don't have programs like order of service, how they usually say. So you can open it up and say, okay, the pastor gonna come up and this and that. They usually have the envelopes where they give you so you can pay your tithes and your offerings. They didn't have that because everything is online now. So now you have to scan the QR code, type in your information. That's how you register as a visitor. That's how you... It was so much going on. I think I stayed there. Service started at 11. I guess the doors opened at 11. Service started at 11:30. By 2 o'clock, they were still going on. I had to leave. I don't even know how long they stayed after I left, but I was like, I set my alarm for 2 o'clock because I noticed I was getting overstimulated. I was like, I have got to go. To a park or something just to release this energy. And is this how church is now? Is this what's happening? And the crazy thing was, okay, the pastor got up after the hour-long praise and worship, and I want to say he had a good message. I want to say it was going somewhere, but then he had this huge, big sign display in the back, which was projected behind him like a big movie screen, but it had like the message of the title of his sermon, which was just basically like a clip art, but it was like this. It was just a really basic clip art, and I was like, in my head, the graphic designer of me, I was like, y'all could have did so much better. If you're gonna use this screen, use it. Like, go all out. You've already done put all these colors up here done praise and worship. You've already done had these boxes and X's and O's and neon colors and lights and dots and squares popping up everywhere, and you're gonna come out for the sermon with this basic backdrop, like this basic clip art backdrop. I was like, y'all could have did so much more. So now my mind is going on to that, which is also another form of me being overstimulated, because then I go to like critiquing, because I'm like, oh, I would have did that different. Oh, because now you're bringing it to my attention. I wasn't thinking about the screen before, but now you put the screen in my face, so now I have to look and see how could I have made the screen better because y'all weren't using it right. But it's not my church, so therefore I'm not gonna say anything. But I can't stop focusing on it because y'all got me sitting right up in the front, and I can't focus because now y'all have all these screens right here. Okay, you know what? As a matter of fact, I'm going to go sit in the back. Maybe sitting in the back would be a little bit better. Then you go sit in the back and it's tell your neighbor this, tell your neighbor that. I'm like, I don't want to talk to my neighbor. I just came to hear the word. And I had to talk to my neighbor, like, turn to your neighbor and say, turn to your neighbor and say, turn to your neighbor and say. It was like, then I had to use the bathroom, had to pee like 5 times, so I had to walk out and go to the restroom, and there's people in the restroom, and people just, oh my gosh, it was so much. Oh my gosh. But it was overall a good day because it was still beautiful outside, and it was police out. It was a whole thing. It was a whole thing. It was a whole thing.